Welcome then, everybody, to WR Tier 5 for round 3. And I'm very excited for this one as we head to the Temple of Speed. We go to Monza, and this is my first race back this season, and I'm very much excited. And my name is Logan Edward. I'll be one of your commentators today, and I'm joined by... Oh, absolutely. I mean, Monza, DRS zone, train, whatever you want to call it. It's that sort of mania, but we do have 2 long DRS zones that go straight into heavy braking zones, meaning dive bombs left, right, and center, moves being made practically in every corner. So, I mean, Monza is going to mean we are going to have some nice racing, which is something, you know, we've not really seen recently in real life and some tracks, obviously on the calendar. Now, first race here in the Tier 5 scene. I recognize some of these drivers, you know, like Ken Fisher, Christoph Goddard, Herman Polakov, Michael Heidrich. I raced against Ken, you know, Christoph Goddard, Herman Polakov, and Michael Heidrich. They were all in Tier 4 last season, the tier I commentated, and oh boy, that was a good tier. I mean, Michael Heidrich and Herman Polakov were 2 really good, you know, midfield drivers, and, you know, did get some good points. Both of them were actually teammates as well. Little fun fact for you. And yeah, I'm really much excited for this race. I think qualifying is going to be quite interesting as well, don't you think?
Temple of Speed, as the heavy braking zone and tightness after it starts kinking around to the right, and the massive curve that they added in the late 2010s makes it so much harder to stay side by side going back around to the left.
Oh yeah, of course. And I mean, the chicane after that, it's a bit iffy, and then you have the 2 Lesmos, and then you're on the second DRS straight, going to Ascari, 3-corner chicane, probably my favourite chicane, because you can really full beans it round. And I mean, I could just show everyone here. So you know what? Let's go to the track map. Let's see it from a bird's eye view. Monza, 5.7 kilometers long, 11 corners and 2 DRS zones. It is one of the highest average speed tracks on the F1 calendar. You've got DRS zone going down to turn 1, and you've got DRS zone going down towards, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just going to wait for it to come up on the thing because I don't want to be wrong, but I do want to say about turns 8, 9, 10, probably the best sort of corner sequence there. And 6, 7, the 2 Lesmos, ever so slightly gets tighter after on each other, but if you get a good exit, you got a good run, you can get side by side and get a move set up for Ascari. I mean, this is one hell of a track, not only to race, but also to watch. It always brings good racing. That's if we can make it past turn 1. I think that's going to be the biggest statement. Can we make it past turn 1?
Fully agree with you. Turn 1 is the chaos zone, constantly a threat to the performance of cars, as wings might just get clipped on the back end. And with desyncing that does occur in the game, it can be a little bit harder to keep those wings just a little bit cleaner than in real life. But going into qualifying, it's always eyes on pole to see who can get that clear run into turn number 1. But typically, going into lap number 2, there's a high risk of losing that P1 position anyway.
I mean, yeah, of course, you got 2 DRS zones, and with that DRS coming in right after that first lap, it's all pouncing on the leader and seeing, you know, how he can get through. Now, as Monza is mainly straights, low wings is sort of meta. Not only in the game, I mean, I've seen people run 18.2 rings around Saudi Arabia, you know, the most the track with the most corners, but I mean, Monza already historically a low wing track. This game lowers the wings even more, with low wings being the absolute meta, and already we're seeing many cars coming out. But yeah, we're definitely going to see the move for turn one being taken right on that second lap. And you know what? Let's get into qualifying. Let everyone see what they are missing out. Let's get all the stuff that is needed here. And I mean, who is it out first? Is it Chrisu? It is Chrisu. Now, I don't know much. Well, I say I don't know much. I don't know a lot about these drivers. I do know some about some drivers, but not all. So, I'm going to use this season to come and know and love these drivers. And I hope you can all join us for this journey. Obviously, round 3, I'm a little bit late, but that's because I've been one busy bee over the last 2 weeks, I think, because there hasn't been a week break, has there?
No, it's just been 2 weeks so far in tier number 5 for the WOR. But leading us around the circuit is Chrisu. Been decent in the championship standing so far, but the ones to watch being that of Ken Fisher, Michael Heinrich, and Katana was stepping into the Red Bull seat this time, so the normal driver not there. So Red Bull might not have the necessarily strength they will always have here in tier number 5.
Yeah, and we're seeing Christian now coming around the famous Parabolica. The corner that you could say is a little bit made history. Many drivers have won their first race around here. And now we're going to see Chrisu coming up towards start finish line, and now down towards turn 1. Braking just at the 100-meter board, trying to hit the aggressive turn 1 and 2 curbs. You know, got to be really aggressive over them, help them rotate the car, and then get soon on the power as you make your way through turn 3. Curva Grande, everyone's favorite flat left-hander. I mean, right-hander. 1 minute. Yeah, right-hander. I actually had to put my hands up there. I'm that tired. But anyway, through the turn 4 and 5 chicane, really easy to overcommit over the curbs and invalidate the lap. And it's the same here in the Lesmos. On the exit, it's so easy to just take too much speed through them and meet that invalidated lap. But Chrisu doing it absolutely splendidly as they make their way down towards the turn 8, 9, 10, or as we like to call it, Ascari, braking at the orange board just after the 100 meter, and all aggressive over the curbs. That is the meta. Hitting the curbs, don't be scared, and hope the game gives you good RNG. Now, braking just before the 50-meter board, down towards that 5th gear, trying to keep the foot down towards the floor, keeping 100% full on the exit as you make your way towards the line. It's a short run, and it's an 18.3 as a banker lap.
It's an okay banker lap, but you're going to see some time shooting up into the 17s very quickly. As you see with the response from Ken Fisher with a 1:17.710, already into that hit zone. Might be looking at a low 1:17, especially if someone can get a good slipstream around this circuit, as it's actually better off to have that slipstream due to the long straights, so long as you're not too close, but the dirty air gets you in the chicanes.
Well, of course, you know, we're seeing a lot of drivers, you know, some of them finishing the lap and some of them starting them. Ken Fisher already topping the tables by a whopping 0.6 of a second. Now, if I'm not mistaken, round 1 Las Vegas the grid was separated by 0.6, and you've seen Lewis Drager going straight to that provisional P1 by 0.2. I mean, lap times already in that mid 17s, and I think you're going to be right we're going to see low 17s.
Yeah, lap times coming in, quite a few stuck in the 1:18s. As you mentioned, almost the whole grid covered by 0.6 out in Las Vegas, but almost no time to really push and gain an advantage. The walls are right there, whereas here at Monza, you mentioned it while we watched the lap of Chrisu. The curbs are so flat here that you can push them heavily, but also makes it so much easier to go wide on the track limits.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you know, when you have tracks like, you know, Imola back on the old games, you know, those sausage curbs were there to sort of really stop you. And Monza, really non-existent. The curbs are flat. It feels like it's just an extra bit of track. As power goes up to that provisional P5 spot. But, like, the curbs are so flat, you don't even realize they're there until you're over them, and then bang, you've got a track limit.
Yeah, track limit's going to be the name of the game for the best lap times. If you don't abuse them in these F1 games, because they are much more of a lenient than they are in real life, you're not going to find the lap time. But a few more drivers putting in some lap times into the 117s, top 6 drivers within that 5 temps window, but still got a few people looking for lap times. And Hatsune Miku's already doing 2 laps and not able to find anything representative.
Yeah, I'm just having a few little game bugs, but that's all. Screen freeze there. You know how it is. Classic F1 games. I think I'm going to have to stop the screen share. Just because
So good.
it's like, this game, you know, sometimes it's just a little bit too much. But Nemesis goes up to that P9 spot and... my game is not being very nice to me. I'm going to say that right now. It does not like me whatsoever. I never have had a problem with this game, by the way. May I just state that, right? Last season, no problem. PSGL, no problems. I come back to WOR, and I'm now getting problems. You love to see it, but I am seeing purple sector 1 there from Christoph Goddard. So as we make our way through the Lesmos, I don't know how good of a Lesmo 1 that was. I mean, it wasn't right on the curb, but you don't hack. You know, it's a lovely track to hot lap, but me personally, not my cup of tea. But Christoph Goddard seems to be on a good sort of run here, and my game's just crashed.
Oh.
Well, welcome to PSGL, I guess. Oh, not PSGL. Welcome to WO. I'm so tired, man.
I'll just run through Christopher Gobar's lap then. He ends up getting invalidated going into Parabolica. So now we'll see him heading straight into the pit lane. Michael Heinrichs, though, now coming around the final corner, yet to set a lap time. Coming towards the line, it's going to be a 117, but it's a high 117, 117.919. That slots him into P6 at the moment. Not able to find the lap time representative of your championship leader at the moment is Heinrich in that Red Bull. It's 4 attempts off the pace of Lewis Drager in the Art Racing Bulls in P number 1, outshining that of the main team in real life at the moment. But you still got the bottom 5 yet to find a lap time that hasn't been invalidated. Christoph Gobar, Jacob Groom, Camper, Alberto Barras, and Herman Polyakov.
Polakov. It's a weird name. I struggled with it when I first saw it as well. You love the F1 bugs. I think everyone does. I mean, it's what makes F1 25 F1 25 in my eyes. Is all the game bugs. But kind of sad I'm missing out on qualifying. It's my favorite time. It's my favorite time.
Every release. Chris, who sets a purple middle sector on his lap then, currently sat down in P number 12 with a 118.3, but with that middle sector already steaming towards a much improved lap time, leaving himself with not a lot of battery left and hitting a yellow flag into Parabolica, but no tracks in the way, clearing up directly in front of him as he charges toward the line. Gonna set a 1:17.8, 4.5 tenths improvement. That shoots him directly up into P number 4.
Absolutely lovely. I wish I could say more. I really can't say more because I can't see anything. So me and the viewers have to use our imagination.
Yeah, jumping on board with Katana, he gets a purple first sector with a huge slipstream going towards Ascari. Gets 2 back-to-back slipstreams in a row. Does get a little bit of DRS and invalidates on the entry to Ascari with a purple middle sector as well. That lap's just going to end up falling to the wayside. As Christian is coming around to the backside of the lap, heading towards Parabolica, does not have a slipstream on his side, but no dirty air as well. Rounding that final corner, 19% battery to deploy towards the line. Picks up a little bit of a slipstream from a car starting in the lap, and it's a slight improvement, but still a 118.3, stuck down in 17th position.
I should be joining back very, very shortly.
Ken Fisher not finding a lap time improvement in P number 2. Pascal starting a lap then, coming through the Curva Grande and hitting that chicane with a decent slipstream. With the Lesbos coming up, that's going to be a bit of dirty air to get in the way. Decent exit, but hits the grass on that final acceleration phase, hitting into Lesmo 1. Does go live a huge twitch on the back end of it as well, but clean through Lesmo 2. Open up that DRS, doesn't have that much of a slipstream though, and not really got a good clean first sector on their hands. Coming through, Ascari is going to be picking up a bit of a slipstream, but invalidates the lap on the back end of the curb as well. A lot of struggles with these track limits at the moment.
And I think I've just joined back, so let's get back into this. I am back. I get to see the amazing driving.
Zozo sets a purple first sector, now heading into the first Lesmo. Now into the second Lesmo. Doesn't have a slipstream, but that does mean there's a cleared track to attack that Ascari with. Charging down the second DRS straight at the moment. Getting a second purple sector. 51.49 is the sector time. Clear run to the end of the track. No slipstream though. So it's going to be all on that ERS deployment and the speed in the car setup for Zozo to set this lapse time. Tacking into Parabolica, rounding that final curve. It's going to be a charge to the line. Potential for P1 on this lap. But will it be enough without that slipstream? Not quite. 0.03 of a second off of provisional P1.
This is one spicy qualifier. Look how many people are in the sub-18s. Look how many people are just... I mean, let's just go to this graph. 8 people are within 4 tenths of each other. Now, I was told Tier 5 was close, but I was not expecting it to be this very close. I mean, top 2 separated by 2 thousandths, and then you got 2 tenths between Ken and his teammate Zozo, and then Hatsu not far behind Ken either, 6 thousandths. So this qualifying session is close and interesting, and I'm very much intrigued.
Heinrich just spins into the pit lane after invalidating a 4 tenths and a half improvement lap.
Oh, you love that. And I think Nemesis here in the Scuderia Ferrari is on for their second run. Could be their third. I don't know. I wasn't in the game, but no. I think they finished their lap as 5 tenths in that sector 1. Down.
It was down.
So.
Yeah, not great from Nemesis in sector 1.
I was going to say, what about Katana? But for me, Katana has no front wing. So...
he does have a front wing for me, and is attacking the Lesmos. Going through the second curve. Now, with no slipstream, though, plenty of clear track to attack the track with. Heading towards Ascari, it seems like I've mentioned this name every single time I ride on board of a car so far. But invalidates again! And both Red Bulls on their second lap attempts is getting an invalidation on Ascari.
I mean, we mentioned it near the start. Monza is that track where you will see a lot of darn invalidations because it's a high-speed track. You know, it's all about pushing the cars to its limits, and I mean, that just shows that the Red Bull are really, really pushing their cars and giving no sort of remorse to it. And let's go on board with the kick-salber of Matteo as a 10th was found in that first sector. That 10th could shoot them all the way upwards of a 1 position to P6 in front of Chrisu. Attacking the Lesmos now.
And
needs to find a lot of time, like you said. Yeah, I mean, a 10th improvement in sector 1. I mean, a 10th every sector would be very good. But as we head our way through sector 2, it's only half a 10th found, so not even a position gain. And he's invalidated in Ascari, like usual. Oh my.
Which leaves only Jacob Groom currently on a lap of their own, and they're down 1 tenth and a half already in that first sector, and invalidates over the curve, which leaves no one actively on a lap, and everyone else in the pit lane.
And that's what you gotta love about this track is it can either be so entertaining or so boring.
Yeah, 2 minutes 50 left on the clock. Drivers will be heading out rather shortly. But there is iFire actually on a lap, wasn't on coming into the pit lane. has yet to find a sub 118, but is directly on the bubble and could shoot up huge amounts of positions just by finding 0.2 of a second. Will jump them all the way up into P7.
I think even higher. I mean, just looking at the hundredths and the thousandths, it's lower than P7. So 0.2 would put them, could be enough to put them P6, I reckon. But as we do go through the Lesmos, really nicely done. Off the limit, and we are doing a cooldown lap.
Yeah, not happy with that lap time. Was down 1.5 tenths through the first sector. But potentially could have found more, but maybe just not happy with how it felt through the Lesmos. And backing out that early into the lap time will give them enough time to recharge that battery, so long as they have enough tyre life to find that extra lap time.
And I think that's the question of, do you have enough tyre life to do 3 in a row? I don't think you do. So I think iFire might be out this qualifying session, but we're just going to have to find out, as he is making his way through Parabolica. So is he going to set up for a lap, or is he going to peel into the pits? He's going for a lap.
It's going to be interesting to see how well this goes. He's been able to charge up that battery, but he is going to have to suffer with bad tyre wear, but he's going to have just a little bit less fuel on his car than what most of us might be running, as he's going to come across the line and can be completely out of full fuel, it's going to think. Doesn't hit too much traffic going through turn number 1, but does find some cars exiting the pit lane, but has a clear run up until that Williams that's heading into Lesmo 1. So attacking the first chicane. Was it going to be much of an improvement? It's closer to his first lap than it was last time. Finds 1/10 better than the last attempt. Hitting Lesmo 2. He does find a decent exit, but the exit is quite wide over to the curb. But it's all on that Lesmo 2, where the acceleration really does matter as you attack the DRS zone. And as he's catching up to this Williams, he might find himself with a bit of a back end of the lap slipstream. It's purple in the middle sector. Finds 0.2 up on his current lap time as well. A massive improvement so far through that middle sector. Does find that slipstream on that Williams as well, as he attacks the back straight, pulls out of the slipstream into Parabolica. Huge opportunity on his hand to jump massive positions for iFire, rounding the back end of Parabolica to the line, putting all of that battery down, but it's only an improvement to P number 10.
But it is a place improvement, and you know, not even a 10th, but it was a nice lap from iFire. I mean, if you think about everything that was like not good, for, you know, the tyres and, you know, a little bit of a traffic start could have maybe affected him mentally going into the corner, but Michael Heidrich up to that provisional P1 spot, and he just found 0.2 over Lucas Strager. You love to see it. You love to see it. Welcome to WOR. Power, though, also up towards the line, does not finds 0.008. That little bit of an improvement could be everything. You never know. You never know.
It might be just enough.
Up to P8.
Teammate of AMG now crossing the line. Shoots up into P number 4 with a 0.4 improvement on his lap.
What?
As it's all eyes on to only a few drivers left. Zozo, one of those drivers, still on a lap with a double slipstream on the back straight, following the kick sab of Matteo around into Parabolica, with the Williams of Hatsune Miku in front of that as well. So it's 3 drivers crossing the line back to back to potentially find improvements as the Williams peels in. Matteo stucks in P6, Zozo stucks in P number 3.
And I think that's
your
everything.
Grid.
Yeah, because iFire not on a lap, and I mean, Matteo, they're getting a little bit of a cheeky slipstream coming out of Parabolica. I mean, he got blessed by the heavens, you could say, and what a nice qualifier. Michael Heidrich will be lined up on that pole position, followed by Lucas Drager on that front row, and then you have Zozo and Pascal Gill on the second row, AMG and Matteo on the third row, Ken Fisher, Hatsune Miku on the fourth, Christoph Goddard and Chrisu on the fifth row. Rounding out your top 10, Herman Polikov, Power, Katana, iFire, Nemesis, Alberto, there's 2 Albertos, so Barros and Alberto, Jacob, don't know why I said Jacob, Christian and Camper round out the 20 people on this grid. I just realized we have 20 people on the grid.
Yeah, full 20 here for Monza, so it's going to be pure chaos into turn 1. But it
That's
is a 7-10th field spread down to P16.
own 7 tenths for 16 cars is a quite small margin if you think about it. I mean, when you think about these sort of tiers in WOR and PSGL, you don't think of this sort of margin, but I mean, yeah, pole's about a tenth and a bit up, but like it's so close between P5, 6, 7, and 8, and then it's close between P9, 10, 11, and 12. The sort of gaps between the people in like groups of 4 or 3 is so tight. If Matteo just found 7 thousandths, he would be in front of AMG. That's what I love about this tier, and that's what I love about this sort of league. Is the gaps and margins are so minor and so close.
Yeah, the top 4 able to squeak a bit more of a gap than what most of the rest of the field is able to. If you take it from AMG, it's less than 4. It's less than 3.5 tenths that separates the 16 to P number 5.
Oh, absolutely. And now, as we get ready to line up on the grid, I need to ask you the question of what do you think the strategy is going to be?
Monza can be a very high-tech track out a lot of the time, and Dirty Air can be very punishing as well. However, if a safety car does happen at any kind of point, that can just be just enough tire saving for people to eke out a one-stop strategy, medium to hard. I've seen it work before, and it can be quite a deadly strategy as well, but you've got to be so good on your tires. And if you have any kind of tire wear issues, it's probably better to early commit to the double stop and make sure you can push every single lap.
And we do have a lobby restart. Because I don't know why. We just do. So yeah, so I think the Alberto did accidentally like his game disconnected. So we do have lobby restart. So we will be going back to that very lovely camera scene. Because why not? I mean, you don't want to be seen.
Why not?
Obviously, why not? I mean, qualifying was very interesting. I mean, we missed half of it. You gave us great detail so we could imagine, what that qualifying was like. But obviously, I didn't get to see a whole lot of it, and that's because of EA Sports. Thank you for this game.
Give us back the Codemasters privileges that they had before.
Yeah.
Some may shout. But no, in that one session, we got lucky with the timing being in the slap bam of the middle of the session. Not many people on laps, and so not much action missed, and most of the improvements being found on the third attempts anyway. So not missing out too much in that qualifying. But going into the race, is the championship leader leading the way again out in front, Michael Heinrich, and a few drivers behind him looking to shoot up the standings.
Oh, absolutely. My biggest sort of thing is, I look at the standings right now, and I'm seeing how mighty close that gap between Michael and Zozo is. Both of them on the podium streak. So things could get quite spicy depending on what the result is coming in towards round 3. Now, constructors though, it's not as close, but it is still quite close. Red Bull and Alpine. Yes, Alpine, quite surprising. I'm joking. But Red Bull and Alpine, only 11 points separate them. The rest of the field, I would say, are gonzo for now. I mean, 45 points is Williams, who are in third, and 45 points trailing Red Bull. I mean, that is a staggering gap. I'm only 2 rounds in. So...
Yeah, and the Williams, they did have a strong showing in the race and qualifying at Las Vegas, but then a huge issue struck both drivers. So it's not like that driver lineup is weak by any means at all. It's just they got really unfortunate in Las Vegas, that's for sure. And it sounds like they might have had a bit of issues in the second race as well.
I mean, yeah. I believe Silverstone was backwards, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that was...
It might have been just... No, I think it was just normal way around.
Was it? Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sadly, I did miss Silverstone.
track that is hard to race at Silverstone in these newer F1 games. Such an iconic track in real life for its corners and the ability to go side by side through the curving sections and with the iconic corners as well with speed. But the issue with these modern day cars is it's so reliant on the dirty air that corners like Cops are actually negative for the racing quality nowadays.
Yeah, and you know what? Despite the newer gen games being quite weird to overtake on, I have seen some remarkable racing over the past, I want to say, 3 months. Right, in the past 3 months of what I've commentated, I mean, I've seen overtaking at Monaco. I've seen overtaking around some of the tracks you would not expect it. Saudi Arabia, Baku, and when I mean Baku, I mean Sector 2 Baku, right? Sector 1 you can overtake on because it's 90-degree corners, but Sector 2, it's a little bit more technical. I've actually seen it on this game, and I've seen it from drivers like this in this grid. So I do believe we'll see a lot of overtaking throughout the whole season.
Yeah, it's partly down to the physics engine of this game being a little bit revamped. It allows for that side by side action to exist, and if you go side by side, the cars are just a little bit tighter on the tires, and the tire wear can cause people to start slipping in pace, which allows people to edge in that gap even in tighter field spreads. The only worry is when you face people within 2 to 3 tenths of each other, can they really make that difference to punch past that slipstream train or DRS trains that can sometimes occur, especially at tracks that are arguably easier to overtake at and are less technical?
Yeah. One thing I do want to say, you were talking about Slipstream. Slipstream is very weird in this game. With dirty air, the closer you get to the car, the more dirty air you get, right? Normal. Happens in real life. But Slipstream doesn't have the same effect. The closer you get to the car, the Slipstream effect is the same. Meaning, we don't see it that much overtaking in a DRS zone. Because of that pure thing of, the cars, you could, burn all your battery and you are doing the same speed as someone with DRS. That slipstream does not have a massive effect. And I think a lot of drivers have actually complained and said, you know what, they need to fix the slipstream because it would make overtaking a lot more of a common theme. Now, already it's quite common, but it could be even more common with just one singular fix of the slipstream.
Yeah, in real life and in previous game titles, the closer you get to the car in front, the more of an effect that slipstream would typically have. This game does not seem to have that, as you mentioned, and I think I've seen it, and you might have seen it as well. If you use ERS to keep up with someone, even if you're slower, it's definitely possible because the driver in front then can just deploy their ERS if they're faster than you in defense, leave nothing for the corner sections, and you kind of just get stuck chasing each other around the circuit. Makes it good for people on slower pace who want to try and keep up. But the main issue is if you are trying to run away with a race, you can just have people stuck to the rear of you who aren't really a threat to you at the same time.
Yeah, of course, and we are just waiting for everyone to get into the lobby, as has been reopened, which is really nicely, quite quick as well. It's just all technical issues now. I'm hoping they change the track, as right now it's saying that we're going to be going to Australia, but that is because Alberto Barros is just still doing the lobby settings.
But yeah, Australia, a technical circuit, not on the calendar, but
I wish it was.
But definitely a track that's been improved with its recent changes in terms of racing quality and by these modern day cars, to be fair. But I think it's one of the few tracks that would definitely gain a huge advantage if we had smaller cars.
Oh, yeah, and what are we getting next year?
Much smaller cars.
So, that is going to be... I'm actually quite excited to see what not only EA are going to cook up, but also in real life. We've seen some sneak peeks, but I don't think we've seen the full thing of the full-fledged 2026 car. And being that we're going back to, what is the size, I believe it's similar size to what we saw in the early 2000s, 2010s and stuff. They were quite small, they're quite nimble. I'm quite excited to see what 2026 is gonna behold.
Yeah, talking about 2026, the only issue that people are worried about, and I don't know how it's going to be replicated in the games at the moment, is that 50-50 ERS split and just running out of juice at the end of straights and just not being able to overtake because you just don't have anything less to deploy.
Oh, you know what? I didn't realize that. I didn't know they were making changes to the ERS. But that's just because I've been kind of out the full F1 in real life zone. I've been
It's
too.
going to 50-50 electric versus combustion split, which is going to cause it to be the fact that you have 50% of the power always available, depending on how much throttle you put in. And then obviously the ERS is what you could deploy through your electrical battery. And once you run out of battery, you just lose 50% of your power, whereas currently it's only about 20%.
At this point, we're getting closer and closer to leaving Formula One and becoming Formula E.
And I mean, the racing quality there is absolutely astonishing.
Oh, don't get me. I love. When I'm sat downstairs and I realise Formula E's on, I'm gonna put it on and I'm gonna witness absolute cinema because you never want to lead in Formula E, right? Because of that whole battery thing of you need to make sure you can last the battery. If you're leading, you're burning it for no reason. And that's why there's so many overtakes. I wish there was a rule in F1 saying you can only lead this amount of laps. It would just I don't know. I can just see it, but it could probably be a little bit messy. But
We definitely don't need to see a activation of fan boost or any kind of gimmick like that in F1, especially at tracks like Saudi Arabia. Imagine they pull it around the outside of the left sweeper and they just have to take that completely wide to get an extra electrical boost.
yeah, that would be very funny. Um, who are we waiting for? We have 18 drivers here raring to go. I think we're just going. I think we're going. We had to wait for the lobby host to do the very lovely grid order. And you know what? I've already forgotten the grid order.
I remember that it's Michael Heinrich leading the way. Zozo was in the top three.
Lewis
And
Lewis
AMG was
Drager
in
was
P
somewhere.
number 5.
Yeah.
Lewis Drager was P number 3, with P number 2. AMG was P number 5. Ken Fisher was within the top 10.
Yeah. We're just picking names out.
Katana was doing good lap times, but invalidated all 3 of their really good laps.
Yeah.
So was way down the field.
And now, I think we sort of talk about the race stuff. Because this is one thing I love about the game. With the introduction of a sort of new way of, well, I wouldn't say it's an introduction, but increase in tyre wear, something I mentioned quite a lot last season. It's like 4 times the amount of what it was on 24. On F1 24, you could get away with doing soft, hard around Bahrain. You can't do that anymore, which is good, right? It means you got to pit stop more frequent, right? Or you can't do that sort of 20 laps on a hard compound tire. What's the strategy going to be for Monza?
Most typically, you see a lot of medium hards. The soft tires in this game, no matter the circuit you go to, just get absolutely drained on this game. And if you're in any kind of dirty air and you overheat your tires just from a mild spin up or a mild twitch, they just kind of combust on you instantly once you get into that heat range. It's so hard to cool them back down. So you kind of just have to race on mediums, which is a lot more realistic to what happens in real life, though, to be quite honest. So it's arguably a decent change in realism, but it just has hindered racing quality a little bit and made it very often you just go medium hards or worst case scenario medium hards, which some drivers might opt into doing. And if we get an early safety car here today, definitely might be the optimum strategy just to pit on an early safety car and just get onto a second set of mediums and keep the pit tempo up. Though overtaking shouldn't be a problem as well here.
Oh, no, absolutely. Overtaking is something you see quite a lot around Monza. And it's the one reason I'm actually excited to watch Monza, right? It's the only reason I get up to watch Monza. And it's mainly the reason I'm commentating here today. I saw Monza and I was like, oh, I definitely want to commentate this. So, the one thing I'm very, very scared to see is someone trying going 4 abreast into turn 1 and causing a massive pile up and causing a lobby restart. I can see that happening.
Yeah, and I hope we don't get a lobby restart as well. No heroics, not quite into Sandoval, but no heroics into turn number 1 is the hope here. But if anyone does pull it off, it'll be interesting to see as 5 red lights come onto display, and Michael Heinrich leads us away ahead of Lewis Drago and Zoso towards turn number 1 for 27 laps here at Monza.
Oh, and it's a great even start from everyone throughout the grid. Pascal getting a great move up towards that P4. Ken Fisher also trying to get some moves in the making, as from P8 to P6, he will do, and it's an Alpine 436. You know, Alpine looking really strong this season and already proving their worth as they are making moves up the order. Hatsumiku down in that P9 spot, getting a move done on Christoph Goddard, but they are having a ruffle and a tussle. They're having a fight in the 4-5 chicane, and in the background you can see Jacob off in the gravel. Oh my lord, what's happened back there?
Frisu has ended up getting shunted off from the side of the Mercedes, free wide with his Williams teammate on the opposite side, and ends up diving off of the circuit and into the wall. And an early retirement for Chrisu here at Monza is going to be unfortunate for them, but track is so close still. Everyone still following within that DRS range as we turn around towards Parabolica. An Alpine trying to make a move already into P number 5 on Pascal, but no one else able to even try and find a move other than Camper down in P16. Going around the long way of Alberto Candonsin, who does keep the position in the end. But it's Michael Heinrich sitting in that purple sector 1 for that first lap.
Oh, and what a first lap that was. I mean, it had a little bit of action, and it was also ads. It's been quite calm. I was expecting it to be a lot more messy. I was expecting to see a lot more people out, but it's only Chrisu. And also, let's talk about Herman Polakov. Started in P11 and already up to that P8 spot. 3 positions found in the matter of a lap. He is flying right now. And Ken Fisher did look for the move in towards Parabolica. And I think he's trying to get that track position as best he can. As looking at the tyres here, we only have 4 people on that hard compound tyre.
Yeah, not many people on those tires, but we got a little bit of a move by Mateo Gonzalez getting past Ken Fisher on the early part of the straight. Not often might you see it that early on, as he keeps falling down in ghost mode is Ken Fisher, clearly not having the best connection and potentially being driven under AI power, but he might also fall to this Williams under ghosting as well.
Yeah, Ken Fisher has left the session, which is never ideal. When you're that far up, that's the one thing you don't want happening. And let's look at Lewis Drago as we ride on board. He's clinching closer. He breaks early for turn 1, and he just wants to stay in this P2 spot. I mean, that could be the strategy. Just let Michael Heinrich do the work. Make sure you're not getting, harassed by Zozo behind, and if you can just stay in this P2 spot, you're going to be looking good for not only the first portion, but the second portion of the race.
Definitely a good idea to just stick out behind in the early stages of the race, and with the DRS, you might be able to force them to use a little bit of VRS, but currently Michael Heinrich leading the way quite smoothly as the field is just following in a massive 19-car DRS train, but a little bit of a gap has formed at P number 8 as Hatsune Miku falls off at the back of Herman just a little bit, which might give an opportunity towards Christoph. As further down, you'd have iFire actually making up a position as well, getting past Ken Fisher's AI, but it's, as you said, that slipstream doesn't get more powerful the closer you get, so even if you're just in the far distance of a DRS, it's practically the same benefit as if you was right behind them.
Yeah, and it just means that, going down this long straight, Lewis Drago could have an opportunity at the move, but because he's this far back, if he does not have that ERS advantage, he's not going to gain the position. So all you got to do when you're at the front is make sure you've got enough ERS to burn on the main straight, but
Pascal tapping the rear end of Zozo, turning the ghosting into a catastrophe for both Alpines at the moment, dropping massively through the grid. That's potentially an investigated of a penalty in after this race, as he doesn't pick up one in the game. completely locks up into the back of the Alpine after already making the move on AMG, the McLaren, who also suffers hitting the curb as well.
I mean, that is just unfortunate racing. I mean, as someone that, rides no assist, it's quite... When you're going for a heavy dive bomb, and then you don't want to hit into someone, you're probably going to lock in just by accidentally pressing too hard onto the brake. My drink...
Oh, Lewis Drager, I'll take over then, as Lewis Drager is still on the back end of Michael Heinrich, a little bit closer this time around, as penalties start scattering, and Christian Lumbinov in the background ends up spinning off into the wall and crashing all the way back down there. But it is a little bit closer this time by Lewis Drager, and Michael Heinrich has less battery at the moment, but still just enough to put on a strong defense. It's going to be late if it's anything, but it's not anything for them. As you look further back down the grid, though, it's all a little bit line astern, as you see multiple drivers like Power having to put on a defensive move, but still enough to keep position at the moment.
Yeah, and I was choking over a drink, which you love to see. But yeah, no, I mean, just sort of riding on board here with the kick salber of Jacob Groom as he's chasing the back end of Alberto Canderson. I think I got that last name right. I might have not. I'm just going to have to, try and roll with the flow. And I think looking towards the sort of top 5, the gaps have sort of been split because of that carnage that we saw on that lap 3. But ever so slightly, the gaps are sort of easing and they're sort of closing down. And Pascal in the sort of no man's land space as he's got a second gap behind and in front.
Yeah, and we're getting to this part of the race now where a little bit of overheating might be at a risk, but Alberto gets a horrible run through with Ascari, which might give Jacob an opportunity to go down the inside. It does pull out already, heading towards Parabolica. It's just down the inside already. Now, can he get onto the accelerator before Alberto tries to chase him back down on that main straight? He's tight into that slipstream already, but he's only got 17% ERS, so Jacob's able to actually just pull away. As further up the grid, you got a defensive move by the McLaren, as Zozo dies on pass, locking up a little bit. Still side by side is Nemesis, but as the switchback comes through, he picks up a little bit of damage, which opens up his teammate to come round the outside of Curva Grande, still holding on with that ERS deployment, as he's trying to pull alongside Power as well, and it's just going to be clean pass for both of them. But in the end, Power gets tapped on the rear as he tries to make the defensive move, and it's still side by side going into Lesbo number 1. Can he make it stick around the outside on the defensive move? It's not done just yet. It's Lesbo 2, but it's going to continue on as it's finally through, as Jacob tries to force his way through the Red Bull of Katana, who ends up slipping behind, Kadonstin behind as well. And it's all tight through here on lap number 6, as Power's still trying to race that of Nemesis, but having to give it up through Ascari.
Yeah, and again, Ken Fisher just leaving the session. He's having connection issues here, and like you said, it is getting tight, it is getting spicy, and also, we're looking for another move as Power down the inside, in towards Parabolica. Jacob Groom as well is going to try and pounce on the opportunity, and Nemesis isn't going to lose 1, isn't going to lose 2, but it looks like he's going to actually lose almost 3 as Alberto comes in behind. We're going to go 3 abreast in towards his turn 1 space. This could get messy real quick, but no, Jacob Groom was able to slow the car and nicely through turn 1 and 2. No damage on any car. That's what you love to see.
Yeah, and they're still side by side. Almost all of them have no ERS battery left, so it's just a pure brake horsepower race to the corner, as a lockup from Alberto still gets him turned into the corner in front of Jacob, and finds himself in P12 by the end of it.
Do these guys know that they're fighting for the last point position?
I think that's potentially why the desperation is so hard, as it has caused a 3.6 second lap gap in 2 seconds, as Alberto is completely on the back of Power, but it isn't enough with that low ERS battery to make any kind of move stick. And it's now all of the cars behind iFire for P10, as up in front, Alberto Barras making a move onto Hatsune Miku, going into Parabolica. already trying to get back on that accelerator. He is drifting a little bit onto the far end of the slipstream of the car in front, so it might be an opportunity to come back out in front. But Pascal also making his way, trying onto the back of Matteo, but does get past Christophe. But it's back down to that second section of cars going into turn 1, scattered across the track. Oh, trying to take out, but lockup from Alberto goes a little bit deep, but doesn't open up any opportunities.
I mean, I'm just looking at, and there's like 2 massive swarms of cars. You know, you've got Lucas Drager and Michael Heidrich, who have sort of made the escape run and are in their own sort of world here. 1 and 2, both in the sister teams of Red Bull and V-Carb, and they're just chilling. You know, they're just chill guys up front, and then you've got P3 down to P9, and then P10 all the way downwards to P17. Obviously, Ken Fisher massively out of this race. I will be surprised if we don't see him retire. I mean, his race is shambles, and that's because, not of him, but because of game connection issues.
Yeah, I will note, looking on the onboards, Lewis Drager has done the strategy that many people might know from Tia McMardick of just slightly underfueling the car to start and just trying to, and with this open front now, where he's just got Michael Heindrich in front of him and no one behind him, he can just save that rest of that fuel, and with that lower fuel at the start, he might just have a little bit less tire wear. But as I say that, he gets a huge run through Parabolica, and it's just going to be a steam into P number 1 for Lewis Drager to take the lead of the race here on lap number 9.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look back to P13. Jacob Groom, not far behind Alberto. He's just not able to get the move done. When you're in that DRS train, when you're on the second spot, you just can't get any move sort of done. And back to the lead, Lewis Drager and Michael Heidrich, if these guys work together, I see them gapping the rest of the field and gonna make it a 2-way fight for the win.
Lewis Drager's putting down lots of pace, though. He's already pulled a 6-second gap going through the Lesmos. So it's going to be on Michael Heindrich to find a response to the lap time that Lewis Drager's pulling out here on lap number 9. Pit windows for medium tyres tends to be around that pit 11 lap mark. If you stretch it out to lap 14, you can think about the 1-stop, but if you hit it early on that lap 11, typically it signifies the 2-stop strategy. But Lewis Drager is just pulling away through all of the corners on this lap so far over Michael Heindrich. So as you said, there is potential for them to kind of slingshot each other, but that's only if Michael Heindrich can actually properly respond to this lap time of Lewis Drager coming out.
I mean, also, let's just put in the mindset of ERS advantage. Who has it, who doesn't have it? And it looks like Michael Heindrich will be able to get alongside and will be able to regain the lead during the braking zone of turn 1. That's what you love to see. Just etiquette stuff as Miku goes into the pits on lap 10. So like you were saying, we are sort of entering that pit zone phase, and we have entered it. I believe we have, and Hatsune Miku will be coming out just in front of Katana. Oh, I say just in front. I mean a staggering 7 seconds at least.
Yeah, my guess is if they're pitting on lap 10, that is them committing towards that 2-stop strategy and having huge tire wear issues. But again, it's still Lewis Drager behind Michael Heindrich leading the way in front of the Matteo group behind. And as side by side, actually, going through the Lesmos is Highfire and Alberto. Now currently for P9 on track. But a little bit of a wobble comes through, which allows Jacob to come alongside. Alberto doesn't have DRS and is already slipping down 2 positions, heading into Ascari. And completely on the back end is Jacob, following through iFire. And Alberto's going to want to try and reset himself up, as it's just the slipstream down towards Parabolica. And Jacob's halves seem to be coming alive at the moment.
Yeah, and also moves being made up towards P3 here. Well, I say that, it's just people boxing left, right, and centre. Lewis Drager and Michael Heindrich just sort of staying together, and loads of people boxing on lap 11 here. I want to say more than half the grids opting to get off those medium compound tyre. And you said the 2-stop, but I think 15 laps or 16 laps is doable on the hard compound tyre. So I think it may be a 1-stop.
It 100% is doable, and I have seen it before, but you don't want to be stepping your foot into the grass or gravel if you want to make it work. And it is a hell of a lot easier if you drag these tyres towards that lap 12 mark, just to give a little bit of a cleaner run to the end on hards. And with it being a competitive race here, there's always a slight risk of a safety car, but these drivers might just want to wait for at the front of the grid.
Yeah, and we're seeing, you know, one thing that's flew over my head is we've got 3 people here that are on the hard compound tire. Alberto Barros, Jacob Groom, and Alberto Canderson are all on this hard compound tire. They've gone for the alternative strategy, and they're all basically with each other. Well, I say that. No,
Yeah,
Alberto's in no
Alberto
man's
Barros
land.
Alberto Barros is 10 seconds ahead. He was still within that front train that was following behind Mateo Gonzalez, whereas Jacob Groom and Alberto got into that scrap for P10, but dropped them way off the back of the rest of the grid. But they are still fighting for points paying positions, even if they are off the back of the rest of the pack.
Do you think Alberto then could be on this winning strategy? I think he could do it.
Of it. He's going to have that stick of medium tyres, and if any kind of safety car comes out, he's going to have people behind him with rapid levels of pace. But if he gets a good time safety car, definitely could be on with a storm of a strategy. But with the pace that Michael Heinrich and Lewis Drager have shown so far, it's going to be hard for him to keep them behind, even if he gets that optimum safety car.
There's something I'm thinking of is like, we've seen it. You can definitely overtake around this track in any sort of corner. We saw people side by side in the Lesmos. We saw it in Ascar. We saw it through Curva Grande and the 2 chicanes. I mean, you can overtake anywhere on this track. So going for the strategy of going for that overcut, going onto the fresher compound, the softer compound of medium compared to the hard, I do think we could see Alberto Barros and Alberto Canderson, the 2 Albertos, you could say. I see them both doing quite well here.
Yeah, as on that last stop, we did see Jacob Groom end up retiring out of the race. Gonna be the 3rd retirement of this race so far. But with these pit stop windows, Ken Fisher is a little bit closer to the back of the grid at the moment. But Mateo Gonzalez on those fresh tyres sets the fastest lap of the race. First lap time under a 1:21 so far in this race then. But he's currently leading the way in front of Hatsune Miku and Michael Heinrich, who fell quite a lot in the pit stop rotation. Lewis Drager able to keep in P number 3, but Michael Heinrich trying to make a charge now on the back of Hatsune Miku, deploying that DRS, coming around the outside before the chicane, and setting a purple sector 1 and a 6/10 improvement over his previous lap.
I mean, he is flying. You could say Red Bull gives you wings because he is flying like a hawk right now, and he's got his eyes set on the back end of that kick but just in front of him, Mateo Gonzalez. What can he do? I mean, the gap's not far from Lewis Drager, and that's the man you want to be with if you want to be in the fight for the net lead. So, it's all going to be heads down, foot to the floor for probably the next 4 laps, I would suspect, as Alberto Barros is just stomping away compared to Alberto Canderson.
Yeah, they're currently growing that by 2 seconds now is the lead. And this is the kind of pace he's going to have to keep putting down in this clear air. But it's going to be good for his tyres, as it's a 4/10 improvement over the previous fastest lap. And it's an ERS deployment as well. But it's going to bring him back into provisional P number 2, back behind Lewis Drager. And it's even going to chip into him and that DRS gap as well.
Yeah, he was just able to use that DRS to just sort of slingshot him into the DRS zone or range of Lewis Drager. And also in the background, we see Hatsune Miku and Christoph Goddard get a little bit antsy as Goddard does go down the inside into turn 1 and does go up to P6. I want to look at the positions change as Lewis Drager and Michael Hydrit, the only 2 in the top 5 to actually be down positions. Both Albertos are up 15 respectively, and Mateo Gonzalez, Christoph Goddard, and Hatsune Miku are all up in that top 7. So, you know, overtaking is being done left, right, and center, and I love to see it.
Yeah, obviously you got Pascal Gill, who made contact with Zozo early on in the race. They're down 5 positions each, but Zozo making a little bit of a recovery drive at the moment, back up into P number 8. And then if you look further down, AMG struggling and had an even worse case than Zozo did from that collision. And then you've got Ken Fisher, who's had his connection issues, and can put up P6 in the lower back ends of the grid. But it's Michael Heinrich trying to make a move already onto that of Lewis Drager. He catches up within 1 lap, and it's straight back into the lead as it's Zozo sending a huge dive right in the curb, still alongside. We're going to have to try a switch back around Curva Grande to make it stick onto Hatsune Miku, who has not a lot of ERS, but just a little bit more than what Zozo has left in the tank.
Yeah, and I just thought maybe Lewis Drager could have an attack back into the 4-5 chicane, but no. He just is not able to, and also, they're both on the same lap of medium of hard compound tyre of 3 laps, so not too shabby there. Both sort of have the advantage, and they are leading the way. This is what we like to see. They're hunting down Lewis Drager's teammate, and yeah, we're definitely, Lewis Drager is definitely doing the strategy of sort of saving, conserving the tyres, and then try and go full attack near the end. I think he's doing the opposite of what Michael Heidrich is doing, who's going really aggressive and trying to gain as much time as he possibly can.
Michael Heinrich has already resaved almost all of the battery that he was deploying, back up to 70%, which is plenty enough to put on a defensive effort here against Lewis Drager, who, as I said, he started a little bit shy on fuel, but he's now into the green. As you see, Mateo Gonzalez dipping out of the slipstream yet again, so that is enough of a concern for these drivers in this game. They up the ante on the engine wear and heat that these cars go through, and if they do overheat a lot, you actually can find yourself losing like multiple miles per hour, and if you really do get overheating, you can lose up to 5 to 10 miles per hour depending on the circuit.
Oh, yeah, and around this track as well, where DRS trains are a very common thing, that sort of engine heating is going to be rampant. It's going to be really high, and you're going to have to really manage it. Obviously, we're not at 100% race, so it's not as severe, and I think there's a few settings that do tweak it down a little, but there is still that potential risk, and Lewis Drager is really on the back end of the Oracle Red Bull in front of him. He is hunting him down like a hawk. It's Zorzo does unfortunately get a 3-second time penalty, which is not going to be ideal when you're on a combat run.
Yeah, and it's going to be Lewis Drager, as you said, charging down Michael Heinrich now, back onto his back end, but a nice run from Michael Heinrich. It's going to bump it up a little bit. He's not going to get that he's going to get that DRS, actually. I didn't think it was in that DRS detection zone, but he does get into the DRS of Lewis Drager's teammate, which is going to thwart his efforts on this lap and drag Michael Heinrich back into that P1 position as the pit stops all go through.
Yeah, I think best case scenario right now is Michael Heidrich really just needs to play the smart game. Lewis Drager is in the best position, in my opinion. I always love staying in that P2. You know, you have that sort of control of when do you pounce, when can you be unpredictable. Whereas Michael Heidrich has to be always thinking like, oh, he can make a move here, he can make a move there. I've got to always be on guard. Whereas Lewis Drager, all he's got to do is play mind games. And he could win this race with ease.
Yeah, as we saw that last lap, both Alberto's pitting. Alberto Condosin going to the back of that second train, 4 seconds off the back. He has to catch up, and it's about 5 seconds for Alberto to catch this lead and pack up on those fresh medium tyres. Should have plenty of pace at his disposal, but how quickly can he catch up before the laps start falling away from him?
Condosin's gone on to another set of hards. He started on hard. Something's wrong with Alberto Condosin. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know if it's on purpose or not. But you don't normally see, if you're doing a double stop, you don't normally see hard, hard, medium. You see medium, medium, hard. Or medium, hard, medium. So I'm really confused by the strategy of Alberto Condosin.
Might have just been a slight issue with the game, though, as we've had a few bugs that's also caused us to have a restart of this race already. And an unfortunate potential error from Alberto by switching to the hards, as he started on the mediums and went 17 laps, which is plenty enough to make it on the end on mediums.
Absolutely. And I'm just sort of looking, the fight for the win here, the net lead
Oh.
is now yet another 7-car fight, which you love to see. This is actually an 8-car fight with Herman Polakov in the mix of things, and we're back to what it was near the start of the race. We had all the drama, we had all the controversy. That's out the window now, and now it's head down, do the race.
Yeah, we're in that head down phase. Set your pace, find your rhythm, try and not make any mistakes. But unfortunately, a few drivers have and picked up a few penalties that are going to hinder their results unless everyone else picks up a penalty. Zozo, Pascal, Alberto on that last lap in particular, as Lewis Drager actually makes a move this time around, still on the inside line, but it's going to switch to the outside line is Michael Heinrich with plenty of ERS, but Lewis Drager, with that deployment, pulls away back into the lead of this race on lap number 19.
Yeah, and we've seen AMG getting antsy in the background against Katana, goes for the lunge, gets the outside move done, and really nicely done AMG up to that P12 spot, and also on the back end of iFi here, but Katana looking like they want to get back at it and go back for the move, and down the inside it's turn 4. The move's not been able to be complete, and you see Kamka taking advantage of this and looking down the inside, but no. Slots back in on the entrance of Lesmo 1. This is lovely fighting for P11 and downwards.
Yeah, sadly it is for that P11 unless they can start charging towards power for that P10, as this train is the lack of these points paying positions. AMG trying to recover some kind of points after his qualifying efforts, as another penalty by Katana has been picked up, now dropping him into that penalty realm as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at penalties. Camper being the only one with a 6-second. Everyone else that has a penalty is a 3-second penalty. And we're seeing Michael Heinrich down the inside into turn 1. And I don't think we'll see Lewis Drager go back for the fight. No, he's just going to allow Michael to retake the lead here on lap 20 of 27. And also, look in the background. That Mercedes is ever so closely gaining on this top 8. Alberto Barros is cooking on those mediums.
Yeah, only issue is he has picked that early up, that 3-second penalty. Zozo and Pascal, if he gets in front of those, it's going to be staying the same. They all have that 3-second penalty, but anyone else he overtakes, he is going to have to get that 3-second gap to act. Oh, as we see a slide in the background on that Williams of Hatsune Miku, who gets a huge twitch on and makes a gap to the top 4. As Zozo comes sailing on by, going into Ascari.
Yeah, but that also opens up that DRS gap. Zozo is gonna have to find a 9th gear here. Nope, already back in the DRS zone, just burning that battery to catch up to Christoph Goddard. And catch up Iaz is now nice and set as through Parabolica we go. And Zozo finding a lot of time in the final sector. I think Zozo, I mean, despite that penalty, I think he could have had a chance at a podium, potentially.
There's potential for an on-track podium, very difficult affair, unless Michael Heinrich and Lewis Drager finds a way to pull away from this race to actually make that stick as a result. But as you said, plenty of pace, and it's clear now, 21 laps in, you need, unless you're on a fresher, softer compound like you are with Alberto Barros, or Alberto Condonson, you need to stick in that DRS range. And if you burn your battery, you can get that back once you're back into DRS, but it's ever so important to catch that back up if you do step out of it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And Zozo was right on it from the get-go. X of Ascari was like, yeah, burn that battery, get back into that DRS, and into the DRS goes about Alberto Barros. As now it's a 9-way fight for a potential race win. It's unlikely for 6th and downwards, but there's a chance, and a chance there is. And if there's a chance, you have to take it, as Pascal does just move out of the slipstream, and I think he's just cooling down the engine that we saw from drivers previously. But now Alberto's catched up. He's got a hefty lap advantage on the tyres, 5 on the minimum. I think we're going to see Alberto make some moves in the next coming few laps.
Yeah, Alberto got 50% ERS at the moment as he catches back up to the back of this train. and has a huge opportunity on his hands. If he didn't have this penalty, it would have been even huger potential to rocket up the standings at the end of this race for any of those without a penalty left. Dangerous track, as we did say in qualifying, on those track limits, especially through Ascari, who so many got their lap times deleted. But on this precious stick of rubber, we've seen it already. It's arguably easier in this current game to actually attack through the Lesmos than it is through the straights, due to the fact that there's no DRS training in the corner. And with that fresher rubber, it's just going to be ever so easier to potentially go for those more risky moves.
And that gap between him and Herman is just slowly dropping. And as we make our way through the heavy braking zones, everyone in front of him gets backed up. He's cuts that gap down in half. And that's why he's been able to really catch up in 3 laps, 4 laps. He's cut that gap down by 5 seconds, which is remarkable. Props to you, Alberto.
Lewis had a great run on that back straight to catch up to Michael Heinrich. He's been within that 4th attempt, which seems to be the bubble for if you want to make a move. But this time round, doesn't opt to use that ERS deployment and just sticks behind Michael Heinrich for 1 more lap. Might be a bit of a game here than trying to make that move stick going on to the final lap rather than making it anytime sooner at this point.
Oh yeah, and 4 laps to go. It seems very unlikely we see the people with penalties actually be able to clinch out a post-race penalty podium where their podium will not be affected by their penalty. You know, 4 laps to go in a field like this, it's going to be hard to break away. And Alberto Barros in the background there, not far behind Polikov for that P8 spot. Will that P8 spot hold after the race? We're going to have to find out.
Yeah, in terms of Herman, he is on for a provisional P5 with these penalties if he's close enough, but it's going to be on the border as Mateo is in that P3 position. And so depending on how close they are across the line, in terms of temps margin, will determine whether or not that becomes P5, or it could go to back to P6 or to P4, depending on these penalties and if anyone else picks it up. But again, back within that 4/10 gap is Lewis Drager, but with plenty of ERS to deploy to keep himself safe. Does Michael Heinrich have, but turns it off a little bit sooner than Lewis Drager does, and it's 2 people going side by side at the exact same time. Christoph trying to make a move onto Mateo in the background as well, makes it stick a little bit quicker, and Zozo down back side by side as Lewis Drager and Michael Heinrich tried to race off, but Zozo round the outside of Mateo to get ahead of him on track, and with both of them having a penalties, that move will stick, but still a position improvement on track as well.
Yeah, absolutely sensational racing from everyone in that top 5 there. Clean, concise, precise. It was amazing. It was spectacular. And I mean, that's what you love to see here in Tier 5. And Zozo was able to sort of just, you know, get so much out of what happened there in that turn 1. He was able to get a better run. And that's why he's now net leader of everyone with the penalties. So at worst, he drops down to a P6, I see.
Yeah, Hatsune Miku, Herman being the only 2 not of the front runners who don't have the penalties. Everyone else around them, besides from the top 3 now after Christoph's move, have no penalties. So it's the top 3 leading your way towards a podium result, with Zozo leading the charge of the penalty runners, as you have mentioned. With the dying laps going now, Alberto does get in to P number 8 on that previous lap, as the Haas tries to make a move on the inside of Hatsune Miku, and he does slice his way out in front, goes ghosting on the back end, and a good run from Alberto might find himself contesting this position as he's around the outside of Hatsune Miku, and they are still within each other's cars as he becomes unghosted heading into the braking zone. Alberto dives it down both of them, and a locker does secure the position for Pascal at the moment, but Alberto getting in front of Hatsune Miku. But that's again enough a position on a non-penalty driver, and with a gap forming to Mateo, it's going to be a lot harder to actually break that gap.
Yeah, and Pascal has a 1.4 second gap in front, so Miku and Herman Polikov, I don't think are actually going to gain as much from these penalties. I think Zozo may actually be kind of sad, as you can see there. Alberto just going off in Ascari and back down. Was it? Was it
Hasn't lost any positions
Alberto?
left, but is going to have a poor
Yeah.
run towards Parabolica. But with a bit of an ELS deployment, it seems to keep him safe at the moment. But a huge scatter then of the top 9 runners. Gaps starting to form up a little bit, but it's going to be Herman on the very back end of Hatsune Miku's car, trying to make his move towards P number 8, but no ERS as he reaches the end of the straight. It's going to have to back out of it.
Yeah, and up near the front, Michael Hydrick and Lewis Drager side by side as we make our way through the right-hander of Curva Grande. Michael Hydrick just able to clinch ahead and regain that lead. And as we make our way onto the penultimate lap, this is where you need to be. Christoph Goddard in that P3 spot as well without a penalty. So I would say it's a three-way fight for this win. You could say Zozo's in it if we just pretend he doesn't have that 3-second penalty. So technically 4-way fight on paper, but we're just going to have to see what it will be like on this final lap.
Yeah, but Zozo's still going to want to keep the pace as high as he can. With that 1.1 second gap to Hatsune Miku now forming, and with both non-penalty points drivers falling to the back of this train, this might give the gap to Zozo to stick in P number 4, but it's going to be difficult for everyone behind him to keep their positions.
Oh, absolutely, and we're seeing Lewis Drager really, really close to Michael Hydrick. I think it's going to be the fact of, if you are leading on the exit of Ascari, you will win the race. The run out of Parabolica towards the line is not long enough where you can actually gain, and we're seeing Lewis Drager going for the optimal outside line. It turns to the inside for the second bit of the first chicane, and surely he may get a better run, but no, Michael Hydrick does get a better run, and he will prevail in front. One more DRS zone. Technically, only a few corners where you can actually attack. You've got to plan your next move. If you are Lewis Drager, that's the only thing you're thinking about is, when am I going to go for this move for the race win? And Christoph Goddard is just hoping he can also try and get something on the back of this fight. Between these front two, it's been non-stop this entire race between these two. Michael Hydrick and Lewis Drager have been at each other's necks. It's been a joy to watch. And now it all comes down to this final sector. Michael Hydrick will go defensive. It's all down towards the final corner of Parabolica. It's the famous corner. That's what I wanted to say. Herman Polikov gets a penalty, meaning he won't gain from the people in front of him with penalties. And now, through Parabolica we will go. Michael Hydrick will lead, and I think he will prevail and win the Monza race here in Tier 5. It's going to be Lewis Drager in P3 and P2, Christoph Goddard in P3, Zozo in P4, and Mateo Gonzalez in P5.
Yeah, and it seems like Alberto Barros had a second set of penalties, drops all the way down to P number 9, but it's the race for 10th. The iFire finally drags himself through to win that final outside point. A race all the way to the end that wasn't highlighted as much as that front runners, as it's higher point scoring positions. But iFire, AMG, Nemesis, and Power put on an absolute duel for that final point as well in this race.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we saw it a little bit in the mid portion of that race. They were having sensational racing, and I mean, throughout the whole grid, we saw sensational racing, and that's why we love Monza. It is one hell of a track, and there you see Michael Hydrick on the podium using the Jarno Opmit avatar. You love to see it. Looking to get an extended lead in the championship. It's only right you use Jarno Opmit, 3-time F1 Esports champion. I love the podium in Monza, by the way. Like, the fact that you're, like, over the crowd, it is just amazing. But what an absolute spectacular race here. Most overtakes was Alberto Barros. You know, that alternative strategy did work out in his favor, was able to get up into points and get that P9 spot from P16.
Yeah, and Christoph kept it clean, didn't pick up a penalty, so gets himself into P number 3. But it's Alpine who wished that Ken Fisher didn't have any kind of disconnection issues, as Red Bull and Alpine only have one driver finish in the top 10, but not really any of the other constructors. catching up in this race as Hatsune Miku, the only Williams driver, also in that top 10.
Oh, absolutely. And it was one spectacular race, to say the least. I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it? That's the big question. Did you enjoy today's race?
Oh, it was an exciting affair. A little bit less chaotic than I actually expected into turn number 1. Not having anywhere near as many collisions and keeping it clean, all but that one Williams of Chrisu, who ends up darting off early as our first retirement. We didn't see that many more afterwards, but we did see a few. Alberto Candoncin chooses to retire after not making much progress through the grid, and a few others have some unfortunate collisions as well. But a clean race from all of the drivers then today at Monza, bringing us a good and fabulous set of racing and some chaos in that middle before the pit stops, capped off by that close race at the end at the front.
I mean, yeah, you could say absolute cinema. And yes, I did the pose. Well, that was WOR Tier 5 Round 3 around Monza. Now, before we end off the stream, I think we should let you know where we'll be heading to next for Round 4. Let me just quickly bring up the Season 22 calendar, as I actually don't know off the top of my head. We will be going to Saudi Arabia. We'll be going to the Jeddah Corniche circuit. The 28, I think it's 28, or it's either 27 or 28 corner mayhem of a roller coaster track. It's going to be fun. Will we see it overtaken? That's the question. You're going to have to find out next week. My name's Logan Edward, and I was joined by the very wonderful and very amazing Jazz Hands.
Well, Toby.
Thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you all next week for Tier 5. Goodbye.